Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is Agree or Disagree. Joining me as always is Lauren. How are we doing?
All good.
Yeah.
Glad to be back again.
Wow, he said that with proper
every week now.
Proper enthusiasm. Sorry, we're keeping you. Also, Chels, how are we doing?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Yeah,
good.
Seem a little bit more enthusiastic there.
Nothing.
Eh? Do you know what I mean? Come on.
Leave me alone.
All right. And also, Mr. Joe Smith.
Fighting fit.
That's more like
Nice.
it. There you go. You see, look and learn. That's how it's done.
Lovely.
Yeah, we are going to chat and debate and argue about several points, and we want you guys to get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be putting polls on as well, so you can vote whether you agree or disagree. The premise of this show is simple, but I'll explain it to you just in case you've never seen it before, you don't understand. I will make a statement, and then we all have these wonderful boards where we can agree or disagree with the statement. So there you go, and you will be able to get involved in the chat and vote and hit the comments, and make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe as well. So with Ruben Amorim now fully with his feet under the table, he's been, he's managing games, he's picking teams, he's giving presses, he's here. Yeah, we are fully on board Ruben Amorim FC. We'll see who's going to shine and who isn't under the new manager. Yeah?
Okay, go
and
on.
that's going to be the angle for today.
Right.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And some of these statements will be a bit bolder than others. Yeah. Something
Feel
might
like
be a
that.
little bit beige, but we'll do our best, right?
Okay.
So here's an easy one. Ish. Amad Diallo will be more successful under Amorim than Alejandro Garnacho.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else then.
I thought you were going to say then he wasn't.
On 10
No,
and a half, yeah.
that's too easy. That we don't even have that easy. Well done to whoever came up with that
Yeah, that
statement
is
as
a
well.
good
It's a
one.
good one. I like
Give
it.
us a surprise.
Yeah. I think you will.
Then Garnacho.
Take your time. There's no rush.
That's really.
Then Garnacho.
I'm gonna put it in the poll as well. Put a poll up there. There you go. There's a poll in the chat. Get involved. Get voting or comment. Lots of people commenting. So is it a full house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
We all agree,
Yeah.
right?
After one game, we're a disgrace.
That I do feel a little bit.
Reactionary.
I feel like I should have changed my vote just to stick up for Garnacho a little bit.
I know, I feel
Do you know
bad
what I
for
feel? But I am gonna change.
I feel like it's arguments for both, so
Yeah.
you could
I do like
either.
Diallo. He is one of my faves, but I can't have a whitewash
No.
against Alejandro. It's too
Go on then, you
much.
start then.
Yeah.
I'll start why I disagree, even though I obviously changed my mind. I feel like in terms of raw talent and ability, Garnacho's got it. He has got it, and I think he's been badly mismanaged. This is a kid who did really well for the academy. It was integral to us winning the FA Youth Cup. Obviously scored in the final, ran Forest ragged, was great. Got some minutes under Eric Ten Hag in that first season. Came on against Fulham, got the winner. Came on against City. One of the best substitute performances we've had post Alex Ferguson was at Old Trafford against Manchester City, and it went under the radar because there was all that controversy over Bruno Fernandes's goal and whether it was a goal or whether it was offside. No one actually sort of remembered or noticed that a teenager had come on and just destroyed City for 15 minutes. So he was fantastic, and even in the FA Cup final that we lost, he looked lively. He was one of the few bright sparks in that. Second season was a little bit second season syndrome. Didn't quite live up to the expectation of the first one, but wasn't helped by just getting constantly played. Still a youngster, still developing, still learning his craft, and he was just thrown in for like 30 starts on the spin. And his form suffered a little bit. Yeah. And then I think some people got carried away with that and were like, well, that's it, he's done, he's not the player we thought he was. Hang on, he's still only 20. He's still only he's a youngster. And he wasn't helped even more by the fact that Mainu came through and everyone started loving Kobbie Mainu. And we have a rule at Old Trafford, you're only allowed to love one player at a time. You can't possibly love them both. So it's like, oh, Mainu's the player that we thought Garnacho was. And you think, hang on a minute, we're getting carried away. Even this season, we've seen some nonsense around him. Still capable of causing problems. He's not without his flaws, but a good manager can work with him, can iron out those flaws. Because I think a lot of the flaws with Garnacho aren't based on whether he's good enough or talented enough, it's his decision making. And I know it's not an easy fix all the time. Sometimes players just don't have it. But there is a player there to work with. And I feel like Ruben Amorim could work with him. I love Diallo, but I also think Garnacho deserves a little bit more respect because when Diallo was 19, he was off on loan and doing all sorts. When Alejandro Garnacho was 19, he was starting every game for Manchester United. So there's still a player there. So I'm actually talking myself into this one, actually. I think I do believe that Garnacho could shine under Amorim. Chels, you disagree with me, but you agree with the statement that Amad Diallo will be more successful than Garnacho.
Yeah, but only really slightly. There's not much in it, to be honest, because like I've always said, not that I dislike Rashford, but I've always said with the current form and the way Rashford's been playing and things, I would want Amad and Garnacho to start. So they're both quite level with me. I just think, and maybe I'm just slightly basing it off what we saw-ish on Sunday, I think with Amorim's new system that he is looking at implementing at United, I think in that wing-back position, I think he could be really, really dangerous, and I think it'll be a really good place to kind of see him develop and kind of go into that role. Again, whether or not it will make him more successful than Garnacho, I don't know. But I do have a lot of hope. I've always wanted him to start like under Ten Hag, and I think Ten Hag was quite unfair on him. I don't think he gave him the chance. So just for that reason, I'm going to go slightly, yes, I do agree a bit more, but I do think they are both going to be really good under Amorim.
Fair play. Quite a lot of comments sparking some debate here. Gareth shot in, says Garnacho will be looking at moving to Real Madrid once they start sniffing around him. Will he though?
And will they?
That's the point, yeah. That's probably what I was getting at.
Yeah.
They've got too many wingers at the minute already. I think it's like everyone's just agreed that Garnacho is Ronaldo.
Yeah,
and it's
basically. Just going to follow that.
Like, genuinely, from what we've seen from him this season, why would they be trying to buy him?
No.
He needs to improve to be good enough for United, let alone Real Madrid, who at the minute are a lot better than we are. Like, they've got Mbappe, Rodrigo, Vinicius. You know, they've got Salah's contract runs out at the end of the year. Where would he go if he left Liverpool? You know, Madrid maybe not because of their history, but you know, there's options there for them. Garnacho doesn't get into their squad, let alone in their starting lineup. So let's work on being a United starter and a star for United before we worry about going elsewhere.
That's a great point. And also, Madrid tend to go out and get the Galactico. They still do. Like Mbappe was the biggest player in the world. They get him. Bellingham was the most sought after player in the world. They get him.
Yeah.
They don't tend to get someone who's been underperforming. Or out of form or whatever, however you want to word it. Inconsistent.
Because they know they can get the better.
Yeah,
better
they're
player,
likely
so
to go
why
out
would they?
and get whoever's just banged in 30 goals this season, not someone who's got 7 or 8.
Yeah.
That's no disrespect to Garnacho, but putting it into the context of is he going to go Madrid? I'm not so sure. He might do if he has a mint season or mint spell, and then they come for him. You might say, well, he's not. He's not Mancunian born and bred. He might not want to stay in Manchester for the rest of his life. No. That makes sense, but I agree with you, Joe. Sorry, Ride says, stop making excuses, lads. Well, we're not all lads on this table. The great ones managed to shine from a young age. Garnacho was massively overhyped. But then Lee Smalley says he's 20. How can anyone sane write a player off age 20? Also, Sam Ritchie in the super chat says, really hating the way Garnacho is being treated this season. He has most goals and assists for us, and people are acting like he's been terrible. Yes, he's made some bad decisions, but think it's over the top. Lauren, you agree that Amad will be more successful. You predict he'll be more successful. What makes you feel that?
Again, it's the same, that I kind of see them slightly on a level playing field with this, but I think personally for me, Amad has a little bit better consistency when he does play. I think he's got a bit of a better footballing brain than Garnacho, as you were saying, with decision making. I think Amad can be selfish and he can play in a team, whereas Garnacho, you can find quite a lot that he can be selfish with some balls that he makes, and that's really not how we need to play at the minute. So I think watching from afar, you're going to look that Amad, I think, can go further, but we can't write Garnacho off at all. Like, he is a very, very good player, and I think he's been under a lot of pressure since he got into this first team, and he's played a lot. And for such a young player, they are going to have dips when they are playing as much as they are. And Ten Hag was playing him as a sub as well, so I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but then I don't think he was too happy constantly being the sub. I think he does want to be the first team player. So it's kind of that balance of working out where he needs to be in the team.
I think as well, going off your point, I think we've seen more of Garnacho starting games than we have of Amad as well. So I think it's almost an unfair comparison in that way, because, Garnacho's been thrown into a team like expecting to be a star player, and he's just a kid. So, I agree with you on that point that, once we see more of Ahmad, it may be fairer to make that comparison, but you can't write either off.
I'm just going to get in some of the chat and I'll come to you, Joe. Gareth Shotton says, fair point, Joe, to your point about Real Madrid. Also, Rise says, sorry, ladies, I included you in lads. Apologies. VSG1 says, Rashi's at a stage of his career where he needs to prove his mettle week in, week out. Currently, I don't think he's performing like a player who deserves 350k per week. We'll get to Marcus Rashford in a minute. Joe, you agree that that Diallo will be more successful. Can I just throw one thing at you? Mm-hmm. And this is something you've brought up a lot when me and you chat about it. Garnacho is 2 years younger than Amad Diallo. When Diallo was Garnacho's age, he was in the Championship. Now, he did very well for Sunderland, but he wasn't playing in the Premier League. He wasn't playing for Manchester United. Is there not a chance that would maybe, and I'm including myself in this, not just you, judging Garnacho at a different sort of comparison? Because he's 2 years younger than Diallo, and Diallo probably this season especially has been playing better, but so far, who's done more for Manchester United? Garnacho. Mm-hmm. And yet he's 2 years younger. So do you think there is a case that, he could surpass Diallo, or we're being a little bit too harsh with him?
Yeah, there is a case for that. I just think we're talking about how well they'll do under Amorim. Amorim probably, the odds are he won't be in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So by the time Garnacho is Ahmad's age, we'll probably have a new manager.
That's. I know you're not advocating yet.
I don't like Amorim, but if you just look at statistically speaking, he will get this season, next season, and leave the season after that. That's what has happened to every single manager except David Moyes for the last 11 years. So hopefully that isn't the case. But if we're just rolling the dice on what United have been for the last sort of generation, basically, that's what it is. The other thing is that Garnacho, it's hard to put that back in the box now. He's a starter for United. He's someone that is used to playing every single week when he's fit. How do you take him out of that and make him be the player that is, or have the sort of presence that is kind of comparable to his form? I don't know how you do that, because now if you take him out the starting lineup, it's a big thing. It's not an academy player being brought through slowly. It's Garnacho's dropped, and how does he respond to that? The other thing is, Garnacho is less flexible as a player than Ahmad is. Ahmad can play right wing back. He can play as a number 10. I don't see Garnacho being able to play as a wing back because he doesn't have the defensive work rate. Mm-hmm. All of these things lead me to think that Ahmad's probably going to be a bit more successful. And also, I know he's got the most goals and assists for United this season, which is great. But he's hardly in a stacked division in terms of who he's up against for that. It's a really out of form Rashford, a Højlund that's been injured and out of form himself, and Xerxes, who at the minute can't hit anything with anything.
Yeah.
Give him two objects and he can't make them hit each other. That's how out of form he is. So fair, I just think that he's got the most goals and assists in a team very much lacking goals and assists.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a difficult situation that we find ourselves in with Garnacho, because also we don't play with wingers anymore, and he's a winger. And I think we've got too many players in the squad that, Rashford and Garnacho's one, maybe even Bruno can be part of this conversation, although I think he's got enough about him that we'll probably see a bit of a difference, where they kind of work out, like they work in teams that don't really have strict rules and structures. Yeah. They're quite free-flowing players who like to express themselves, and they kind of do their thing. I don't know how they'll work in a very rigid, very particular structure under Ruben Amorim, and I'm a bit concerned about that. Ahmad, I feel like, is a bit more mouldable, and like you mentioned, maybe a bit more of a footballing brain to him where he can be part of any system. I worry a little bit with Garnacho for that. Not to say that he can't be more of a success or anything like that. I think he's a very exciting player. But what we're seeing at the minute, and what we've seen for maybe the last sort of 6 months with Garnacho, is someone that doesn't feel like he's improving at the rate I would hope he would. And maybe that's, a large part of that is the way he's been deployed, but you can't undo the last 12 months necessarily. So that's my worry.
Yeah, I hear all that. I think Garnacho's got to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
He's got to, and even then I don't know if that'll be enough. It might not. But again, the whole Ronaldo thing is just, too many people chat about it. And, Ronaldo works on a lot of things, but he had the tools to do that. Garnacho physically might not have that. Ronaldo physically was almost the perfect type of player for a certain style. Garnacho's quite small. He isn't as quick as others, so it'd be interesting to see. But we're not saying Garnacho can't have a very good future. I think we all agree on that. In terms of the poll, yes, Amad Diallo would be more successful under Amorim than Garnacho. 86%, 14% saying no. So it's very much. I feel like Amad Diallo is sort of, his stock has never been higher.
Yeah.
as United. I mean, or maybe after the 4-3 for that week, but now,
I think it now.
yeah, people looking at him, very good debut under Ruben Amorim. Debut playing for him was arguably, one of the best players on the pitch. Is having a good season and has done it when others haven't. I always go back to the Liverpool game. Came on against Liverpool. It's not exactly like everyone else was tearing up trees, but he got the crowd going. He was running at him. He was battling with him. It's what you want to see from a Manchester United player at a time when none of his teammates were doing that. So 86% of people, it says 85-14, which don't make any sense. But the next one,
go on.
People have already been sort of pushing for this in the chat. So this is how we're wording it. Marcus Rashford has a future as a number 9 at United. I think. Do you know what? No, hang on a minute.
You're going to change it?
I'm going to change this. I'm going to change it. I'm going to be a little bit more controversial.
Oh, God.
I'm going to say Marcus Rashford has a future at United.
We were very quick on that, weren't we, Lauren?
I'm going to get absolutely hammered here now. I know it. I can see it coming.
Knew it was going to be this.
See, already straight away the trolling has started. Me and Joe are going to get absolutely. I put a poll in the chat. Vote in the chat. Joe, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
We're getting hammered already.
Yeah.
Delusional J is the first thing that came up there from Hyatt KY. If Amad Diallo's stock has never been higher, I don't think Marcus Rashford's has been much lower. To be honest with you, it sounds bonkers considering he just scored at the weekend, but. People questioning his attitude, people questioning whether he wants to be here, people questioning his wage packet, people questioning what he does off the pitch, people just questioning him full stop.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I have my doubts, but
yeah, me too.
I still feel like it's a little bit too soon to write him off, but this isn't my case, it's yours. Why do you think he's still got a future?
All the things you mentioned there are true, and it's weird because you end up like the older you get, and you get these new contracts, and then you get the contract when you played well, so it's a bigger wage packet, and eventually you get to a point where unless you're starting and you're one of our best players, you have to leave, and he's kind of at that point. He's on too much money to be anything other than Man United's top 2 best players week in week out, and he's miles off that at the minute.
Yeah.
Although. In fairness to him, there's probably only 3 players in the last 12 months that have actually been good. So it's not as though like who actually has been very good the last 12 months. Mainu, Evans,
12 months.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So like again, it's not as though everyone's been amazing.
You know what?
Who's been shit?
Not
Who's been good for the last year? Mainu.
Consistently.
And maybe Johnny Evans had that bad game of the weekend, but other than that, it's been pretty good.
That's it, really.
Jesus Christ! So no one between the age of 37 and 19 or whatever it is has been good over a year for Manchester United.
That has to be remembered, and that has to come
absolutely
into this.
abysmal.
Because he's not alone in this. But again, when you paid the most in the club or thereabouts, you have to almost be above the ups and downs that go on below you. Yeah. Like the best and biggest players do their thing year in, year out. Harry Kane gets you 30 goals a season, whether you finish 6th or 2nd. And maybe gets you a few more in the good years or whatever, but you can't go from 30 goals to 6 goals to 20 goals to 9 goals. You have to have some level of consistency. But I do think that of all the players we've got in that front line, he's the only one that I know can do it. Garnacho, I know he can get me United 7 goals and 5 assists because he's done that. I don't know if he'll ever be better than that. He might be, and hopefully he will be. Amad is another one. Realistically, I don't know that he's capable of anything because he's not done it. Rashford, I know he can. And we've given him all this money. I don't know where else he would go. PSG's always mentioned, but is that just because they're so stupid with money they'd give Marcus Rashford 350 grand a week? Yeah. Maybe that's all the link is. But I think that because of that, I would give him a bit more time, and it probably has to be this season. But he is good enough, and I don't know what's going on. The thing that worries me a lot, and I know you guys have obviously got your worries as well, because that's why I've said disagree. Consecutive managers have said these little hints about attitude, and Amorim did it today, and he said about it's not just on us, it's on him and how he approaches being a United player, basically. Again, this little hint that is he doing the right things off the pitch? You know what I mean? There's suggestions in there that the way that things are phrased, and Ten Hag did it, and so I'm not 100% on this by any means. I just think that I know he can do it, and so just do it. Do you know what I mean? If we're going to be good again, he could be a big reason why. So I think he will still have a future at Man United. Sorry to go on a bit.
No, it's fine. We'll get in some comments and I'll go to you, Lauren. Gordy B666 says he's hated because only player to carry the team at times, hence gets all the projected depression when no one else does it, victim of own peaks. But then Sarah Toby Pito says Rashford should be one of the players setting the standard for the rest of the team. He's dead food at this point. Get rid. It's very mixed. I think there's more people criticising Rashford than praising him, certainly. And the poll at the minute is 68% of people think he hasn't got a future. Lauren, you don't think he does, if you're being honest.
No.
Why have you give up with him?
I've said this many times on this channel that we know exactly what he can do, and that's the most frustrating thing about it when we're watching him with this attitude that he's not really trying, in my opinion. His body language, and I think he's not a young kid anymore.
No, he's 27.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were saying, he should be setting the example, and I just feel he isn't, and he doesn't look happy here anymore. Yeah, he like that night in PSG, like, we'll always remember that. But now it's just the inconsistencies. It's like he'll have a good season and then he'll have a bad season after that, and we'll give him another year because he's had that good season. Yeah. And I feel like it's now just repetitive, that it's year in, year out. It's like, we'll give him another year, we'll give him another year, we'll give him another year. But how many years can we realistically give him before he's in his 30s and we're still trying with him because he's Marcus Rashford, and we kind of have that sentiment with him, don't we?
Yeah,
that when he came here, not when he came here, but when he first started under Van Gaal, it was the most exciting thing. It was the first kind of a proper academy player we'd had in years that was really setting the heights that we kind of were supposed to be known of. And the inconsistency for me is not good enough.
That's a good word you used there. He has stopped being exciting, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's a good. I've not thought of it like that. He stopped being an exciting player, Marcus Rashford. Yeah. I don't know when that happened actually.
Do you know?
He can do things. Yeah. We can see that in bursts, but it's
not. There's some things that go against him that's only partly his fault. One of the things that goes against him is you can see what he's capable of.
Yeah.
That goal against City at the Etihad, I can't imagine someone scoring a goal like that and still getting criticised by the fans. That's what happened that day. He scored that goal, didn't have a good game other than that, and then people going, Rashford was rubbish.
But I feel like that's his problem.
But that was like an amazing goal that only a few players on the planet could have actually scored. Yeah. You look at some of the other goals he scored, he's got a great record against big teams, Liverpool, City, PSG scored a few goals against them. Chelsea, like, he's capable of it, but we don't see it consistently enough. And another thing that goes against Marcus Rashford is, yes, the body language isn't great, but there's never that absence. And when I say absence, Marcus Rashford has played over 50 games, over 40 games almost every season. He's always playing. And I think a lot of the time United, you go, who's not playing? I've seen it with Donny van der Beek. When people have gone, Donny van der Beek's the answer to our problems. Get him in the team and you'll see a different scene. And then Jadon Sancho was the same. Get him in the team and we'll see a different... And it doesn't happen. Rashford plays all the time, and at times we don't see the levels we should do. So that sort of goes against it.
He's playing in a team that is annoying, boring, frustrating, depressing to watch, and he's the face of that team.
He's like Fellaini was under Moyes almost, or not Moyes, more under Mourinho. When things start going wrong, you look at the player who's playing all the time, Rashford. Who's underperforming more often than not, Rashford. He's the figure of sort of everyone's anger, and he becomes like that figurehead. And also, with someone like, the other player that probably symbolises this team more than anyone else is Bruno. And Bruno is more consistent than Marcus Rashford. Bruno does the sort of things that even if he's not having a good game, you want to see from someone. He'll run around a lot. He'll get stuck in.
He'll try, and I think that's my issue with him.
So he's not going to get the same stick that Marcus is. Sorry, Chels, you don't think he's got a future.
No.
Why is that?
It really does pain me to say it because, like, again, he's an academy prospect, and you want him. You want a player like that. You want them to do well, and you want them to be there till the end, like that. But sentiment aside, I think I've just been too frustrated with him for too long, and I just think you want an like Lauren said, you want an exciting, inspiring player kind of up there, up front, scoring your goals, creating goals, and I don't think he's that player anymore. I don't want to say that he's finished because I don't think that at all. However, I know it's hard for me to say, but I do genuinely think his time at United is up. I do, and I'd love to be proved wrong, but I just can't see him being the player that he was once upon a time.
It's not been, for want of a better word, a happy story at United for Marcus Rashford.
It started great.
It started off so well.
Really hasn't.
I'd say we're pushing 4 years.
Yeah. Even that season where he scored 30 goals, part of that season wasn't great.
But that came in the middle of a bad season, and then that one, and then now we're looking at 2 bad seasons.
Seasons in a row, exactly.
And I hate it. I get your point, Chels, because I like Marcus
kills
Rashford.
me,
And I would go back to the Coventry game at Wembley. He gets injured. He gets booed.
Yeah.
He gets taken off. He gets booed.
I'll never agree with that.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Ever.
I've never booed any United player. I'm not going to start with Marcus Rashford, but it shows the level of anger, and that's from fans that you'd expect, by and large, would be behind him.
But then there's been times he's come out where you can see the fan unrest, and he's kind of said, "I've got nothing to say." Yeah, and it's that's frustrating as well. Like, even if you don't think it in your head, just play to the fans and just go, yeah, look, I do, but don't come out and go, I've got nothing to prove, but you're not showing up.
If you're performing well, then fair enough.
If you're trying, honestly, if you're running, like Anthony, really not great, but at least I see him running, tracking back, trying. But honestly, I'll be at a game and Marcus Rashford will make a run, and either I'll text my dad or my dad will text me and go, oh my God, he's actually run. And like that's such a sad state of affairs with a player like Marcus Rashford, that you're excited to see him make an actual run.
It is weird with Rashford, isn't it? Because I always hate saying that a player isn't trying hard enough or has got a bad attitude or whatever, because they're the sort of things that you don't really know because you're not in their head.
Yeah, of course.
So you don't know whether someone's injured, you don't know whether they were going to make that run, but then you're never quite sure why. But whether it's true or not, the general consensus around Marcus Rashford is that he can't be arsed and he's not trying hard enough in it. So it almost doesn't matter what the truth is, because the people who watch him every week,
that's how we're going to feel.
Most people think he's got a bit of an attitude problem, and I think that's really hard to overcome that. Whether it's true or not, whether it's just he's a quiet character, whatever it is, has led us to a point where a lot of United fans, and even match-going United fans, as you mentioned, Jay, are struggling to like him. And that's a really hard point to come back from. So I hope he can.
We used to see him have pace.
It is sad. It is really sad.
He did have pace.
He did.
Yeah.
And then we're not seeing that. So I think that it stems from that as well, because he was known for his pace and now he suddenly doesn't have it. Yeah. And it's a bit like, well, that feels like he's not making an effort because he did have pace at one point. So where's that gone? You're not that old where you've lost your legs yet.
I just think the lack of effort and the fact that I am going to say it, I might get shit for this, but I think the fact that he's dropping stinkers week in, week out when he plays, I just think it's getting to that point now where I've had enough. I don't want to see it. And I want to see somebody who is proud to pull on that shirt and play for the team. And with his body language and attitude and this and that, I don't think he is that player anymore.
Do you think it is attitude? Do you think it's confidence?
Probably.
Everyone assumes it's attitude,
That's
don't
what I'm
they?
saying, yeah.
I agree with that.
And I don't know. I'm asking a question.
I mean, he quite possibly is lacking confidence, but it's just the way that he kind of, when he's getting subbed off, say, so, at the end of the day, someone's going to, if you're not playing well, you might get subbed off. But it's just the way he walks off and he slumps his head, and I'm just like, you can't, even if that's not what you're trying to convey, the fans are going to think that's what you are. They're going to think that that's kind of your feelings and your attitude. And I know it can be hard if you aren't having a great time with playing football, etc. But it's just getting frustrated now, and I've had enough.
Yeah, I think Marcus Rashford is one of them. If he does end up going in the season, I actually think that when he returns to Old Trafford or whatever, people will be nice to him.
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah,
no,
I think he'll be one of them.
100%.
I think, it's getting to the point now where I don't like it. I do like Marcus Rashford, but I don't like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it kills me to have this opinion.
The sad thing was, and I think at the beginning of the season, or parts of the season, I thought it looks like he's fixed up. And especially when he's working with Ryan Hopper, came back for that game against Southampton, you thought, okay, he's working at it. And there have been some signs, but then I feel like he's regressed again.
Yeah.
And this is the worry. I feel like this is his last chance now another manager. You're 27. If you are going to get sold or you're not going to stick around, this is probably the time it's going to happen. I feel like this is it. And even now, it's short term as well. I don't even think you can say, oh, I'll get going in February or March. I think you've got to start getting going now. I really do. I'm not giving up on him yet, though, which is why I didn't...
he got a goal at the weekend as well. So maybe you can turn a goal and a bad performance into... a good performance, and then a goal and a good performance.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Maybe let's just hope that this is a bit of momentum. But like you said, Jay, I think this is the season, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think he will get another one after this.
Make or break.
Santa Notch says it's almost certainly that all the hate and abuse over the years has got to him. I do think it does get to him, and I do think he's one of those who is aware of what he said about him a lot on social media. Some players haven't got a jar of glue, but I think he has. Marcus Rashford's future has a future at United. Yes, 30%, no 70 in the poll, and it was 50-50 here. I'm going to go through some of the comments. Alex King says, the times we are good, it's usually because of him. So someone says he has had 1 9 out of 10 season and 4 5 out of 10 season. He's had an anomalous season by pure logic. He's on average an average player who had 1 good season. Joshua Bowater says Rash is my favourite. Yeah, I'm not.
He's had multiple seasons where he's got 20 plus goals. That's not a 5 out of 10 season.
No,
I think how many wingers have got, what was it, 4 seasons or 3 seasons with 20 plus goals in the last 7 or 8 years? It's not many. It's not. I don't like
5 out of 10. To say this, and I've praised him a bit, but I think Jamie Carragher made a good point. If Marcus Rashford is your main goal scorer, you're in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
That is true.
Yeah.
If he's the guy you're relying on to get you the goals, you've got also. If you've got 2 other players alongside him, at one point we had Mason Greenwood and Andy Martial, and between the 3 of them, they got 70 odd goals, whatever it was, and that was okay. That was fine. Marcus weighed in with 20, Mason similar, Andy Martial the same. We know why that all went to shit. We don't need to go into that. But when you've got him as your main goal scorer, and the other goal scorers are getting 1 or 2. Like in a month, you're in all sorts of trouble, and I don't think that works, and I don't think it works. No, and if that's where we're at, then it's not going to work. Joshua Bowater says Rashford's my favourite player at United, but I think it would be better for all parties if he moved on. Club gets some cash, and that gets a fresh start. You were kind of saying something similar. Benjamin Toppin says how many managers has he been through? The kid is burnt out.
That's true. He's never had a stable manager or set up at United.
Literally, as he goes on to say, he's had no professional stability at all, which is what you're saying, Joe. Yeah. He's constantly under the most scrutiny. Yeshua is Lord Seven says paid too much for anyone to want him. Good boy though. Fed our nation's kids. Wish he would run the yards. I mean, that does get in my head, and I don't forget that. Alex King says attitude talk is a microaggression for black players. I get that. But sometimes it is appropriate.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know about what his attitude is. All we know is what the public perception is, and that is he's got a bad attitude. Whether it's right or wrong, people think that, and that's a big issue for him.
Sometimes that goes a bit OCT, and sometimes you look at it and go, the obvious one, the one that was just such a stupid thing to do was the Belfast one, because that gave so much ammunition.
Yeah. And that's that you're being unprofessional. It just
that was the one where even me and I get pellets for constantly defending Marcus Rashford. I can't go, well, it's all right, he went to Belfast and got levered when he should have been in training.
No, because it's not.
Come on.
I can't, you know what I mean? I've got nowhere to go there. LMP22KZ says Belfast incident made clear that he's not fully focused. Frustrating when we need to climb so high, and he thinks he's okay after being here so long. Doc Rock says, you want to know the best thing for players' confidence? The media and worse, the fans constantly piling on and getting in his head. We ain't helping.
I agree with that.
It is a catch-22.
Yeah. But then we have to give our frustrations as fans.
We're not MUTV. We're going to be honest about our assessment of it. And I think we've been, on a whole, very, very supportive of Marcus Rashford. Which, I don't expect a Chuffy badge for sticking up for a player, but I don't think anyone can accuse us of being against Marcus Rashford by any stretch of the imagination. The poll ended with 69 saying no, 31% saying yes, and I hope he proves the 69 wrong. I really do.
Yeah.
One final one. Right.
So those two have taken a bit of chatting.
They have. So we're going to do one more.
Fair enough. Big topics today.
Ones.
And this one is on Joe's favourite topic, Andre Onana.
I love it.
Andre Onana will surpass David De Gea's Manchester United legacy.
Oh, shut up! Why are you making me diss Onana just because he's obviously not going to do that?
This was written for you.
This was.
I'm not an idiot. I like him, but come on. We'll surpass De Gea's legacy. Come off it.
That'll take a lot of doing.
He play 600 odd games for us.
Oh my God.
Jay,
Someone has to stick up for the man then.
Please.
Yeah.
Fat fryer.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not having it.
What are you talking about?
No.
You go first then.
I don't know if you've noticed, right, but 21 is coming. Ruben Amorim is the one. And once we've won the title, we're going to win the Champions League. Now, I love David De Gea, but he never won a Champions League.
And Onana has.
He's going to. He is going to win the Champions League at Manchester United Football Club,
Oh, yeah,
right?
I forgot, sorry.
He's going to win multiple titles at Manchester United Football Club. De Gea only had one, right? So, whilst I love David De Gea, I do feel that after 2018...
You just can't argue with the stats, can you?
Things did go a bit south for him.
Here, aren't you?
And I think Andre Onana, what is he, 25? He's got another 10 years left at United, minimum.
I do think he's a few years older than that, but...
Hang on a minute, you might be right.
I think he's 27 or 28, but even so, he might have another 10 years at the top.
Well, he's 28.
Yeah.
All right. 4 words, Edwin van der Sar. Yeah, he was 35 when we bought him, and look what he achieved. He won the lot. Yeah,
he did.
So Andre Onana's already got 7-year advantage.
Yeah.
And we're obviously going to win lots of trophies this season as well.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
And he won the FA Cup. How many of them did De Gea win?
Exactly.
Was it one?
One.
Oh,
Pathetic.
Do you know what I mean?
Awful.
He's already equalled his FA Cup tally.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
Well on the way.
now back to the rational people. Chels, let's start with you. Why do you disagree?
I mean...
And this is a very easy argument to make, I'm not going to lie.
like Joe said, you can't argue with the, you can't argue
Is it
with the
4-time
stats.
player of the year? One of the few ones that's won a title.
And hasn't he played more games for us than any other goalkeeper?
Yeah, more clean sheets, I think, than anyone. I mean, yeah, this isn't the hardest sell.
I would be very, very shocked if Onana ends up surpassing all of De Gea's achievements at United. Do I even need to back it up?
Not really.
No, really. I just feel that the stats speak for themselves. You know, De Gea was our Player of the Year for many, many years. He was that. You know, he was a brilliant keeper, and I mean, I probably would change my idea now. But at the beginning of the season, I probably was still hoping we had De Gea because I was a bit like reluctant.
Really?
Oh,
I was a bit.
no.
No. I said at the beginning.
You're like Gary Neville.
You do realise there's other goalkeepers than Andre Onana and David De Gea.
Trying so
Those
hard
aren't the
to
only
be
two
impartial
options.
that I'm going too far the other way. No. I've been really impressed with Onana this year, and I don't think that anymore. Although I did have a really good triple save De Gea the other day against for Fiorentina.
This is what it's come to.
No, I'm not finished.
Like, you don't see me cheering every time Danny Welbeck scores.
Yeah, you do.
However,
Kind of.
yeah.
I love the fact you went, yeah, you do. Like, that wasn't my point.
What, even when he scores against United?
You literally do, mate. Why? Of all the examples you could have picked, that was the stupidest one because you actually do. Honestly,
Yeah, you do.
You love all players doing well. Of course you do.
All right, listen, okay. Sorry, go on.
I haven't got really anything else to say. It's just disagree. Onana will have to do an awful lot to surpass De Gea. De Gea is a legend.
I love some people getting deluded with me, man. I love this. Come on, we can do this. You know what? Alex King says, what is De Gea's legacy? Simon Bennett says, how can people forget how poor De Gea was for half a decade? Yeah?
Give up. No offence, I love Onana, and I'm just, even though I disagree, I'm going to use this as an exercise in praising Onana.
Yeah.
But let's also not forget that Onana was hardly David De Gea 2015 last year, was he?
No.
He was.
Which is why I said what I said.
You know, he made a lot of big mistakes last year, and he got better as the season went on. And this year he's been
great,
very good.
Topping some stats in the
He
league.
is. He's topping some stats. Most clean
games.
sheets. Did a video on him the other day about how good he's been.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Onana, and I think his ball playing ability goes under the radar because he made a few mistakes with his hands. Everyone was focused on that.
Yeah.
His passing's phenomenal. When's it like? No offence to De Gea, but he didn't play out from the back very often because he wasn't great at it.
No.
And I can think of 2 or 3 times immediately where he gave the ball away and we conceded goals.
Yeah.
I can't think of one for Onana, and he does it all the time. He's constantly on the ball. And how many mistakes has he? Well, I can tell you this season he's made 0 mistakes that have led to a goal officially. But even just in the sort of 18 months he's been here, how many times has he misplaced a pass and it's led to them scoring a goal? Maybe one. I can think of maybe one in the Champions League where he got a penalty from it. Casemiro gave a penalty or something like that.
Yeah.
But like. It's so rare, and he's literally passing the ball around all the time. I think he's brilliant, Onana.
I think
he's what we needed.
He's improved massively.
Yeah.
This time last season, I was worried. That game against Galatasaray was as bad as I've seen a Manchester United goalkeeper. But the signs that he improved. this season much better, and he's moving in the right direction, and he seems more confident. He seems more assured of himself. We've chatted to him on tour. He's like he's like loving life at United as a United player, and he can sort of sense that he's got that I'm the right man for the job kind of thing. And one of the issues I had with De Gea towards the end, bizarrely, was he seems to lose confidence. He seems to, and this was a player who'd won the title. Yeah, he had won the title and he'd won the Player of the Year and all the rest of it. But he seemed to sort of go into himself a little bit. You're not on the Onana bus just yet. No,
I think you compare obviously like De Gea's first season to Onana's, both poor, really.
Fergie called him out, didn't people forget that?
Well,
remember
that?
When we said I'm going to go with Anders Lindegaard next week.
Yeah, well, they had to pay for his laser eye surgery, didn't they? Like, that's how bad it was. Yeah. Like, he had to get laser eye surgery because he couldn't even see. But I think Onana, his confidence is growing and growing. Like, De Gea was one up there with one of our best keepers.
Yeah, no, I don't think 100%. Controversial there.
His shot stopping ability was incredible. I think they're kind of the opposite in a way. Like, you do kind of get a bit worried sometimes with Onana with his hands, whereas his feet, you're just like, it's fine. He's basically an outfield player. Whereas you'd be so worried with the ball at De Gea's feet. So you have to remember that when you're comparing them. They're two kind of like opposite keepers, but I do think Onana is massively improving.
Yeah.
Even obviously going back to before we signed him in that Champions League semi-final, I'll never forget being like, we need this keeper. Like, and then when we signed him the first season, I was a bit like, oh, what was I saying that for? Now this season he's getting that confidence. I think as well last season the back four was changing so much. How can a keeper find confidence in the players in front of him when he's not got consistency? Yeah. We've got a little bit more consistency this season, so I think his confidence has got better.
He's not having to face 25 shots a game.
No, exactly.
You're much less likely to make a mistake when you're tested far less frequently. Like, that's a massive help.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault that he was it 600 shots he faced last season?
Was it the record at Anfield? Insane. He faced more shots at Anfield than De Gea did in the 7-0 when we drew 0-0.
It's absurd.
Like, I'm not blaming De Gea for the 7-0.
No.
I think most of those shots were unsavable. But it just goes to show, like, as a goalkeeper at United under Ten Hag, even though I like Ten Hag, it was literally you're going to face lots and lots of shots and you're going to have a different centre-back pairing in front of you every week.
Yeah. I think did it end up being like 28, 29 centre-back pairings?
Yeah,
something like that.
It's not, helpful. It's mad in it because I think if Andre Onana had a stinker against Ipswich, this conversation and this vote would be completely different. But as it stands, Andre Onana will surpass David De Gea's Man United legacy. Yes, 40%.
Oh my God.
And no, 60%. So he's not that far off, and I think a lot of that is recency bias.
I think as well, for Amorim as well, for Onana with Amorim, I think Onana, because you just said they are two very different types of keeper, De Gea being a shot start, Onana being more of like a kind of, he gets out there, and that did really shit me up at the beginning because I was like, why are you in the middle of the field? Get back in your box, because we were so used to De Gea being kind of in that position the whole time. But I think now you can see that he's got that confidence, like you said, with his kind of, I know the centre-back pairing isn't maybe completely in stone, but it's a lot more consistent than it was.
Yeah.
I think his way of playing now and the confidence that he's gaining from that is probably the way that Amorim wants to play, and that's why I think that he will do really, really well. And hopefully win us some trophies.
I can't believe you lot have given up on him winning the Champions League already.
Well, not this year anyway. We're not.
Absolutely disgrace. Call yourself Reds.
One of the things I like about Onana as well is he's a bit of a weirdo, and I love that. He's a slightly odd guy.
You have to be mental to be a goalkeeper, don't you?
See that? De Gea wasn't that mental.
Yeah, but
I think he suffered because of
Fabian
that.
Barthez.
Yeah.
What a mental guy.
That was too much.
But Onana,
when you get to Barthez level.
if you've got sort of Van der Sar at one end, who's like the most composed,
he's the only one
in the library reading a book, and Barthez at the other. Onana's about here, and I like that.
He is.
He's a bit of an odd guy, and the United's team we've got a handful of players who are really odd. I think Martinez is a bit of an odd guy.
Yeah, he's
I think Onana's a bit of an odd guy.
Unhinged.
Maybe,
that's a good one.
But there's too many players in our team who are a bit normal.
Yeah.
And I think you need people in that dressing room who are a bit odd, and I love Onana for that.
Sometimes he scares me over that. I told you the ball boy incident that rattled me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that rattled me the other week.
Go again.
Like, we were at the other end of the pitch, United. I think we had a corner, or we were trying to win a corner. And Onana ran over to the ball boy and started shouting, like, give me the ball. So the ball boy's like looking at him. And obviously the ball boys don't have the ball. The balls are over there, like 5 metres away, whatever. And he's like, there was a bit of a communication problem.
The ball's at the other end of the pitch, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all going on. And I just run over to the ball boy and go, pass me the ball. And the ball boy's like, what do you want? And he's like, get me the ball. So he's like, what the fuck do you want the ball for? The ball. And he's like, yeah. So he went and got it him, threw it to him, and then he bounced it so I could give it back and ran back. And I think, all right, that's mental.
That's a bit weird.
It's mental.
Yeah, that's
weird.
insane. I've been watching football a long time. I ain't never seen that before.
That's bizarre.
And I had to check, did anyone else see that? And everyone was like, yeah, because everyone was watching Onana down our end going, what the fuck is he doing?
No one cared about the game.
Yeah,
We're like,
we
what's
could have
this guy
scored
doing?
and no one had cheered because we're all going, what is he doing?
I like that.
Yeah, but I think he's just keeping the ball boy on his toes. I'm going to be kind.
Yeah, exactly.
To find a reason.
That's what it was, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's probably a logical explanation,
Do
but at the
something to do
time,
for a
I
bit.
couldn't find it.
He was bored.
Yeah, give me the ball. Listen, I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was
It's been a good debate there, good chat. Obviously, get involved. Let us know what you think. We're going to be back. We're back. We'll do this every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We're going to chat about, obviously, a bit of a debate, agree or disagree, until we're in the Champions League again next season. Then we won't do it. We'll move it. We'll do it on a different day.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
On a Thursday.
Thursday night show.
Yeah. Lauren, thanks for coming on the channel
Thank
again.
you.
Chels, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Joe, never a chore. We'll see you later on. Me and you are going to be here for Paddock Live at 10 o'clock tonight. So make sure you check that out. That's been Joe. That's been Chels. That's been Lauren. I've been Jay. This has been Agree or Disagree. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.